Welcome to Royal Lovers. I am your host, Carl. If you're as fascinated by the world of royalty as I am, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today we're stepping back in time to late 2017, when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced their engagement. A momentous occasion, right? But what if I told you that behind the scenes it was a different story altogether? The Kensington Palace, known for its meticulous planning, organized the entire engagement announcement. They meticulously planned the rollout and the subsequent engagement interview. But as it turns out, this careful orchestration left the Duchess of Sussex with a bitter taste in her mouth. Meghan felt that she was being managed by the palace. A feeling that was exacerbated by the fact that, as we now know, the palace had done little to support her in the previous year. Instead, they seemed to be working against her interests. Meghan was caught in a whirlwind of rules and regulations that seemed to be specifically designed for her. The engagement interview that followed the announcement was conducted by the BBC. It was supposed to be a candid chat about their love story. But instead it felt like an orchestrated reality show, as Meghan later described it. They weren't allowed to tell their story. Their words, their emotions were all rehearsed. The palace had essentially written a script for Meghan and Harry, and they had to stick to it. The interviewer, Husain, was expected to be empathetic, warm, and understanding. But according to Meghan, she fell short of these expectations. It seemed as though the palace was controlling not just the narrative, but also how it was delivered. These revelations shed a new light on the engagement interview that the world watched with bated breath. It was no longer a romantic tale of love and commitment. Instead, it was a carefully choreographed performance, with the palace pulling the strings. As Meghan put it, the BBC engagement interview was an orchestrated reality show. We weren't allowed to tell our story. It was rehearsed. The woman who conducted the engagement interview, Husain, has been voicing her opinion about the incident years later. Husain, a renowned BBC reporter, seems to be caught in a loop of misunderstanding and misinterpretation. She appears to be oblivious to the Duchess of Sussex's feelings of being stage managed by the palace. It's a curious case, isn't it? Someone of such journalistic stature, failing to grasp the subtleties of a situation that for Meghan was as clear as daylight. Meghan's words during the Netflix series made it evident that she felt the palace had taken control, orchestrating her every move, every word. But Husain, it seems, has chosen to ignore this. Instead, she has taken a defensive stance, retaliating against the Duchess's claims. But the question remains, why is Husain unable to comprehend Meghan's feelings of being puppeteered by the palace? Perhaps the answer lies in the palace's strategic manipulations. The palace, as Meghan pointed out, had a script ready for her, a list of talking points she was obliged to stick to during the engagement interview. They had her boxed in, under their control, making it seem as though Meghan was the one pulling the strings, when in reality, she was the one being pulled. And yet, the palace continues to weave a web of lies. They have been feeding Richard Eden, a well-known journalist, false information, stating that Meghan had complained about Husain, claiming she wasn't empathetic enough, wasn't warm enough. As if that wasn't enough, they even suggested that Meghan had wanted none other than Oprah to conduct the interview. The audacity of these claims is astounding. So here we are, 7 years later, and the lies persist. Husain, the palace, and a multitude of British journalists are still spinning tales, still trying to tarnish Meghan's image. It's a spectacle that's both baffling and frustrating. Just when you think the dust has settled, another wave of falsehoods is unleashed. And it makes you wonder, why is Meghan still the target? Why is she still living rent-free in the minds of so many? The lies these people tell, and the lies they're still telling 7 years later, it's a saga that seems to be far from over. When the Duchess of Sussex aimed a volley of bombshells at the royal family in her Netflix docu-series with Prince Harry in 2022, Husain was among those affected. This series, a candid exploration of Harry and Meghan's life post-royal exit, allowed the couple to share their story in their own words. But as they took control of the narrative, some feathers were ruffled along the way. One of the most discussed moments in the series was when Meghan revisited the engagement interview from late 2017. She painted a picture of a tightly controlled environment, orchestrated by Kensington Palace. According to her, The palace had a firm grip on the rollout, dictating what could and couldn't be said. This wasn't a cozy chat between Meghan, Harry and Husain. It was a carefully managed presentation, a reality show of sorts, with Meghan and Harry as the unwilling stars. Meghan didn't mince her words when she described the engagement interview as rehearsed. She expressed her frustration at not being able to tell her and Harry's story authentically. Instead, they were expected to stick to a script, a list of approved talking points. This left her feeling like a puppet with the palace pulling the strings. But Meghan's criticism didn't stop at the palace. She also had some choice words for Husain, the BBC journalist who conducted the interview. Meghan described Husain as lacking empathy and warmth, two qualities she felt were crucial for the intimate conversation they were supposed to be having. It wasn't a personal attack on Husain, but a critique of the engagement interview's overall tone. Furthermore, Meghan revealed that she would have preferred Oprah Winfrey as the interviewer. It's understandable, given Oprah's reputation for creating a comfortable atmosphere where interviewees feel safe to open up. The connection between Meghan and Oprah is undeniable, both being American women who've navigated the choppy waters of fame. Perhaps Meghan felt that Oprah, with her empathetic interviewing style, would have allowed her and Harry to share their story more authentically. It's important to remember that Meghan's comments weren't just about the engagement interview. They were part of a larger critique of the royal establishment. Meghan felt silenced, manipulated and unsupported during her time as a royal. Her words in the Netflix series were a bold declaration of reclaiming her voice, an assertion of her right to tell her own story. Meghan's words stirred a response from the usually mild-mannered Husain, but that's a story for another scene. For now, let's remember this. The Netflix series was a turning point in Meghan and Harry's journey. It was their chance to break free from the constraints of the palace and share their truth. And they did just that, regardless of the fallout. The aftermath of Meghan's criticism led to a response from the BBC star, Michal Husain. A storm had been brewing, and the usually composed Husain found herself in the eye of it. But as the old adage goes, every storm runs out of rain, and so it was time for Husain to respond to the Duchess of Sussex's criticism. Meghan's comments had struck a nerve. She had called the royal engagement interview an orchestrated reality show, implying that Husain, as the interviewer, was part of this orchestration. As a seasoned journalist, Husain had built her reputation on integrity and objectivity. Meghan's comment had put a question mark on these very principles she held dear. But Husain is no stranger to controversy. Throughout her career, she has navigated choppy waters with characteristic grace and poise. So how did she respond to this unexpected criticism? Rather than resort to a war of words, Husain chose to address the criticism with the dignity and professionalism that have become her trademark. She didn't deny the possibility of the palace having a certain degree of control over the engagement interview. After all, it's a known fact that the royal family likes to maintain a firm grip on their narrative. However, she defended her role, stating that she had approached the interview with the same objectivity and neutrality that she brought to all her assignments. Husain's response was not an attempt to downplay Meghan's experiences or feelings. Rather, she sought to clarify her role and the constraints under which the interview was conducted. She expressed empathy for Meghan's situation, acknowledging the pressures that come with being a part of the royal family. But Husain also took the opportunity to reflect on the role of a journalist. She emphasized that the primary duty of a journalist is to seek the truth and present it to the public, regardless of the circumstances. She maintained that she had done her best under the circumstances to give Meghan and Harry a platform to share their love story and their hopes for the future. In the end, Husain's response was dignified and measured. She did not engage in a tit-for-tat exchange, nor did she let the criticism faze her. She stood by her professionalism and commitment to unbiased reporting, while acknowledging the unique circumstances under which the royal engagement interview had been conducted. It's clear that the engagement interview has left lasting impressions on all parties involved. It was a pivotal moment in Meghan and Harry's journey, a moment that continues to be dissected and discussed years later. Husain, too, has had to deal with the fallout, facing criticism from one of the interviewees herself. But through it all, she has maintained her integrity, standing by her work while showing empathy for Meghan's experiences. The ripples from this royal engagement interview continue to be felt years later. It serves as a reminder of the complexities of royal life, the role of the media, and the importance of maintaining professionalism in the face of criticism. The world of royalty is indeed a fascinating one, filled with intrigue, power plays, and a fair bit of drama. We've explored the engagement interview, the Netflix Docu-Series, and the ensuing responses. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Remember to subscribe, share the video, and leave a comment. I am your loyal host Carl, signing off.